Welcome back and thanks for staying with us. The hashtag on X is Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and Ayub Abdikadir. This morning in studio with me is the former National Police spokesperson and the Director General of the National Communications Center, Charles Owino. Good morning, Charles.
Good morning to you. How are you?
Lovely having you here on the broadcast.
Thank you so much.
And many thanks. Clarice Oganga, on my immediate right, is the chairperson of the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. Good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning.
Pleasure having you here. Dido Raso is the lawmaker representing Saku constituency, also joins us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Lovely having you. George Musamali will be joining us shortly here on the broadcast. We are discussing the state of the country and coming to you first, Madam Chair, yesterday in your report titled The State of Human Rights in Kenya, you had expressed concerns over the disturbing state of human rights in the country. Being the taxpayer-funded organization, give us a brief summary of how the numbers are looking like.
Thank you very much. So as you know that this is a report that we are required to do statutorily at the end of every year, just highlighting the state of human rights in the country. So the report looked at the number of cases that we received in the course of the year, and we broke it down to issue-based complaints. And you'll note that from the numbers that we received, a big percentage of the numbers really speak to issues around economic, social, and cultural rights. So people are complaining about issues that affect their daily lives, issues around education, issues around health, housing, food insecurity. And we also noted that a lot of the issues that come from civil and political rights actually arise from complaints from economic, social rights. So people are protesting about housing, people are protesting about food, education, and then this leads to their interactions with the police, demonstrations and protests, and then violations occur in the context of seeking for protection of their social economic rights. So that's what we have noted, and we've documented the numbers that show that we are not doing very well in terms of promotion and protection of human rights in the country.
Charles, coming to you, in the report, Madam Chair and her team documented 57 killings that they have said happened between December 2024 and December 2025 this year. And given that she tied some of these demonstrations to socio-economic needs that have necessitated the protest, ideally, this should be a cause for concern, is it, from policymakers' perspective?
Thank you so much. First of all, I'm impressed with her basic analysis on this, because most of the times we have seen situations where when we come to these discussions, we get emotional and we don't look at issues as they are. And it is important, we are talking about economic, social, cultural rights, which is a very important factor in our day-to-day lives, to look at how are we benefiting as a nation, how are we organizing ourselves socially, culturally, and how are we even running our families, and how are we bringing up the community before we even come to the conflicts, because we must look at what are the causes of these conflicts, if it is issues of schools, if it is issues of rights. But basically, what is most important, we need widespread education on issues human rights, because it is said that rights have limits. This is what most of us don't understand, that as you enjoy your rights and fundamental freedoms, there are limits to that. And the major thing is that as you enjoy your rights and fundamental freedoms, you also need to protect the rights and freedoms of others. And this is the major issue, because you find people want to do things in a manner that is not provided for in law. I give you an example. The major source of conflict, which she has said, is demonstrations. If you look at our demonstrations, we don't find people demonstrating because they are hungry, because of health, because of economic issues. Much of our demonstrations where we get conflicts are political demonstrations. That is what I can say. I rarely see, because if you find other demonstrations in this town, which could be maybe social, maybe Ogiek has come to town, they are looking for their rights, they're always very peaceful. But when it comes to political demonstrations, they're not peaceful. And why? It's because none of us, for example, I remember when the current cabinet minister for public service was coming up with the Public Order Act, you find there was a lot of temperatures. People don't want public order, a law in public order. For example, we want to carry out demonstration. There's agitation in the country that something is wrong, or politicians feel maybe there's a killing which has been done by the police, and there need to be demonstration. What is wrong with notifying the police and saying that we want to have demonstrations and agreeing that this demonstration will be between this time, and we will use this particular route, so that we don't inconvenience, we don't breach the rights of others. Imagine. Is
that not provided for under the current
It is provided for. But usually what happens, and you know that, usually what happens is that people will say, yes, they will come and notify police that there will be demonstrations. Yeah. But you'll find them occupying all the roads. You'll find them burning tires. So what we are saying, yes, this is our country at the end of the day. It is us to make it, or it is us to break it. Okay. And therefore, it is important that we also have, and I hope she will ask for more money for education, so that we don't just wait for an incident to happen, police has killed someone, then we call for demonstrations. But I hope she will ask for money to educate people, especially if we can agree on understanding that rights have limits. Okay. And apart from that, things like we need to have public order. Okay. And I think parliamentarians should be able to help us to ensure that the Public Order Act is properly done and is passed.
It's also instrumental because Honorable Dido belongs to the National Security Committee of the National Assembly. But still on you, Charles, then, your categorization of all the demonstrations, or a majority of that, being political is unfair, is it? And the characterization, therefore, given that one of the biggest protests ever in Kenya's history records was the 2024 demonstrations against the punitive tax proposals that were contained in the bill that Honorable Dido Rason colleagues were at the time debating at the National Assembly. The outcome has been the killing of Kenyans. Therefore, is it not fair to categorize all the demonstrations as political when these young Kenyans were saying, look, we don't want these taxes, our issues about governance, and even provided a tone the president appreciated, saying that they have come out to state and to place their demonstrations based on issues other than the one that was driven politically by the head of state appreciating the demonstrations.
I agree with you, but politicians took advantage.
When did they take advantage?
No, in the process of the demonstrations. And in the process, what happens is that you find they are genuine demonstrators, but you also find goons coming in. And you've seen that. So what I'm saying is that as much as the young people were talking about economic issues and tax issues, we could be able to agitate and demonstrate. Did we need to go to Parliament? Did we need to go and break the fences of Parliament, take over Parliament, ban Parliament, destroy things in Parliament? I don't think those were young people who were doing that. There must have been political infiltration. We are Kenyans, and we understand that this is our country. Okay. At the end of the day, I don't need to be on a side that is against the actions of young people. I fall amongst Kenyans who have children, bigger children, who are Gen Zs.
I'm sure they're Gen Zs.
Yes, they are. and some of them may be your age mates. So, so I have no reason to sit on a side and condemn what is appropriate. But what I'm saying, can we do it decently?
Okay. Yes. Honorable Dido, sitting at the National Assembly's Security and Administration Committee, the number also documented by the taxpayer organization that Madam Chair chairs also documented 2,848 cases of human rights violations, which are under review reported. And the youngest who was killed was a schoolgirl, aged 12, who was shot dead in Kiambu County while she was in the comfort of her parents at their sitting room. In any case, looking at this from logical perspective, this is concerning, is it?
Thank you very much, Ayub. I think I listened to what she presented yesterday. it is largely about fundamental freedoms and rights. That is enshrined in the Bill of Rights. And I think what we Kenyans must begin to understand, there's difference between when you are faced by the law, that is, you are caught on the wrong side of the law, but also about civil liberties. You can walk down the street, and all of a sudden you are caught in a mess. That was not your doing, but you are just caught in that web. You know, sometimes we walk down the streets in Nairobi, and then you will find these demonstrations. They carry placards, they are with whistles. And then I noticed that they are given unfettered access to the streets of Nairobi. And it has been common with the people in the health sector, where they will march from the Ministry of Health all the way to the gates of Parliament. And then they will give a memorandum. And from there, they will disperse, they will walk away. I think what Mr. Owino is saying, more and more, with Kenyans understanding their civil liberties and basic rights, because more than at any time, today Kenyans, largely at some age, they are educated. They're able to read for themselves the Constitution. That is the right to picketing, the right to peaceful assembly. So for me as a legislator, what I listened from them yesterday, and that is what they should tell us, is where is the lacuna in law that can be corrected? Because for them it is an annual report that they are telling the Kenyans, yes, we use the taxpayers' money to do all this, and this is our report. But in the end, it should not be a report in vain. It must be a report to bring out a solution. We live in a neighborhood of Tanzania, Uganda, in a region that is fairly is a complex region. And when you look at civil liberties and the sort of things that go on there, I think there isn't much you can talk about Kenya. But I think as a legislator, I'm not talking as a government, I'm talking as a lawmaker who would want to hear from Kenya Human Rights Commission that what is it in law that either the government should do or our population should be doing. And here I am looking at the deep end of what you call public conversation. If you go to countries like the US, anytime there is a new law, they'll go to town hall meetings where the legislators, when they go to their constituency, they explain that this is the law. This is what we want to bring in Congress. Okay. And Kenyans should actually begin to do the same, where they have a right, particularly under public participation, which is really canvassed by them as lawyers and human rights, to say that for anything in Kenya to have traction of law, the public must agree with the proposer of that particular law. And they must go the full hog. They have given the report. They must say what laws are going to safeguard the rights of those Kenyans who they are talking for. Yeah,
and Madam Chair will respond to that, but also as a lawmaker, because that is also a privileged position, given that you sit at the house that Katiba has given enormous powers, and which is more or less a stopgap measure for our governance architecture. What then happens to the lives lost? What is the recourse?
I think it's true. Kenyans appear not to understand, and it is good I am on this particular forum this morning. Kenyans are not using their parliament as it were. Kenyans think it is the policeman or the office of the president or the Ministry of Interior who should correct a lot of things. But every constituency in this country have representatives. And Article 95 and 96 of our Constitution, 95 is about the National Assembly, 96 is about the Senate. And it is clearly stated what is it that they can do in terms of representation, in terms of legislation, in terms of oversight. Sometimes you will find the speaker from his chair reading a petition by a Kenyan. And it simply demonstrates how much the citizenry can approach a parliament to air their views on any particular issue that is of concern to the people or to individuals. So for us, as we make law, I think we don't make law in a pedestrian manner. Largely, it must be induced from the outside. Yeah. For your constituents to tell you, hey, on this issue about pension, we are not happy. Then you ask them, what is it that you are not happy? We are not getting it on time. It is not properly structured. You struggle. Then somebody just moves to that existing law, yeah. And then you bring an amendment. That is why sometimes you find that in Parliament you have something called an omnibus. A bill that is as big as this book, where it covers broad raft of issues, like 30, 40, 50. But all of it is amendment on one line, two line, one clause, two clause, to try and correct the issues of concern to the people.
Okay.
So there's something which I must quickly add here. On this thing you said, killings, or Kenyans who lost their lives as a result of maybe riots, or people who are killed when they are in the comfort of their homes. They are killed by stray bullets. What Kenyans must begin to understand, or to try and approach Parliament, is what is the recourse? Because somebody has been killed by a stray bullet, and they were 2-3 kilometers away from that particular riot. And the recourse is, if the government is empathetic about that, then you can go for compensation. Because there is nothing wrong with government taking responsibility for a thing which they did not commit, but they feel that we are responsible government. We want to help our people.
But the custodians of the instruments of violence is the government, is it? So it should also be those who in the command structure be held accountable. For instance, looking at the jurisdiction, the deployment mechanisms, and also even doing the ballistic examination of the firearms that have been used.
I think that is largely about high-handedness. When it is perceived, and let us say IPOA is the one that is seized of that matter. If they go full stretch to establish that this was high-handedness and it should never have been done, then in that case, there is criminal culpability. Okay. It is not about hiding behind maybe there were riots or there were this and that. Mm-hmm. You must establish what was the intention. If the intention was wrong from the beginning, then somebody must carry their cross. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Madam Chair, coming to you, you also said yesterday that as an institution, you demand for the immediate appointment of the Coroner General, proper funding for investigations, and accelerated accountability processes through agencies such as the Independent Policing and Oversight Authority.
Yes.
How key is the Coroner General in that regard, and what is missing in the puzzle that you think he or she will then help with you as an agency?
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think we all understand that in criminal matters, because these are criminal matters, the case is really determined based on the evidence received and lost because we don't have good evidence. And the coroner plays a key role in ensuring that there's good evidence, especially in cases of deaths. We currently do not have a coroner, a national coroner, and we have to rely on the police to do investigations on unlawful deaths. The police are the investigators, and sometimes they are the perpetrators. So to ensure that there's a division of labor and there's no conflict, there's need for a national coroner who does investigations independent of the police and presents evidence as a coroner. The Coroners Act came into place, I think, in 2017. To date, we do not have a national coroner appointed.
Because?
Because the government has not appointed a national coroner. Okay. So I think one of the reasons why we emphasized on that is because a lot of the work then done by IPOA will really be supported when we have a national coroner to investigate, and to give evidence, sometimes against the perpetrators who are the police. So it's very important that we get this right. Otherwise, the cases are then lost in courts, and victims of human rights violations are not able to receive, justice that they deserve. Yes.
Yeah, yes, Charles. Yeah, okay. Talking about this, Charles, because what they also point out is very critical, because pointing out IPOA is a key cog in the investigation process, and atop this are also the other pending matters that IPOA is handling, and the Commission has reported, the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, post-2024 events. Cumulatively, Charles, these are human lives. And even as we talk about discipline, value systems, demonstrations, the manner in which we can exercise our rights, how then do we get the families of these Kenyans justice in the end?
First of all, before I come to that, there's something you mentioned, passing, and yes, I've heard it severally, about command responsibility. I saw this especially in the case of Baby Pendo in Kisumu. And I want to urge Kenyans, and I want her to look at it keenly, that we don't need to treat police like military. We need to be very careful, because military, when they are in action, you only take action upon instructions on command, because it is war. So you plot the enemy, you plan, and you hit the enemy. So if you see the war in Ukraine and Russia, if there would be reason, and one side will be found to have committed, maybe killed others, or especially in military bases, then the command takes responsibility because they get instructions. Police officers find themselves always in situations where they have to act on their own, without reference to their books or their superiors, except in very small areas in riot, when the regional commander Nairobi has released officers to go to the field to undertake riot control. He is in office. He does not tell them, shoot, do this, do that. So if a person is shot, the police officer who has shot the person takes individual responsibility, not command responsibility. We need to be very clear on that, except in a situation of a riot where the commander who is leading that small platoon of 32 or of 30 decides that the riot is so bad that somebody has to, the leader of the team has to be shot. And he says, mtu mrefu, amevaa kofia nyeupe, aim, fire. He takes responsibility for what his junior has done. But if we keep on pushing police commanders to take responsibility of what their juniors have done in the field, then what we are going to find is a situation where police will pull back in many cases because they don't want to use their firearms. The bad people will join the rioters. they'll break into your shops, and you lose your country.
So at what point, Charles, is the decision then called for killing?
Only
How
when,
do you justify
only
that
when,
if I'm the ringleader of demonstrations, that we are on Kenyatta Avenue, that the protesters likelihood, the likelihood is that the protesters will overwhelm the police. Will then a decision be made based on the overwhelming?
No.
So what is the justification?
No. You see, like, I want to give you an example.
Yeah.
Like when Parliament was attacked.
Yes.
In that situation, and they are banning Parliament, in that situation, a command responsibility can be taken by the head of that team and say, the leader of this riot must be shot.
So
not maybe shot to be killed.
Yeah.
Depending on the situation.
All right.
And that is, and in that case,
yeah,
if it is found out, if it is established in an inquest or directly found out that that killing was unjustified, that commander takes responsibility.
So life has been lost. We are talking about a life that has been lost.
Yeah, but it depends on the circumstance.
Then how does then the head of that command you talked about, what is the rationale and the justification for the issuance of the shoot to kill order, whatever? You can also talk about
what I've told you, this is training.
Yeah.
And in training, there are circumstances when a commander can give instructions to shoot.
For example?
Yes.
For example?
Yeah, for example, I've given an example. You have attacked an institution, and you are banning this institution. And we have to get a situation to, you see, you can choose, because how many people are going to die? You choose between killing one person, and you choose between eliminating one person. But majorly, it's not to kill. Nobody gives orders to eliminate somebody.
So
somebody, you can shoot, like even us.
Yeah.
Even when somebody is obviously carrying a firearm,
yes,
and he's shooting, he's a robber, and he has a firearm. You try your level best not to kill him. You try your level best not to kill him. You'll try to, because basically, it's only the court that has right to make a decision for a person to be killed.
So point made. Totally two different scenarios.
Yes,
juxtaposing. So coming back to Parliament.
Just a minute. Human life is so important that even when somebody is obviously a robber and he has a firearm, you will try your level best as an officer, if you can manage, just to disarm him and to disable, but not to kill him.
Okay. Yes. Juxtaposing that in the robber situation, but it doesn't mean justifying the killing of...
No, you don't justify. But also, that's why I'm saying, excuse me, I am saying that when we talk about command responsibility, my request was we be very careful to understand command responsibility of a police officer who is a regional commander in Nairobi, and his officer is in River Road doing his work. The officer will take individual responsibility, not the command responsibility. But if it is military, it's different.
Okay, and you had another point, so after the break, I'll give you the time to also explain your extra point here on the broadcast, alongside Honorable Dido and Madam Chairperson. I'll be coming to you after the break here on the broadcast. The hashtag on X is Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at Ayub Abdikadir. Stay with us.